even team. Would you also then guess that DP Fire is the 4th highest ranked player in the NA League, and J90 is the 7th highest ranked player? That is better than any player on SSG. Would have you guessed that? And now I'll ask you this question. Would you have guessed that, Michael?
Probably.
Okay, well, now you're just showing off.
I guess a lot of random stupid things. Maybe not, though. I don't know.
Unbelievable.
I honestly, I think that there's been a lot of surprises so far through this stage, Parker. Some of them have been in line with no, okay, I wouldn't have guessed it. No.
It took you this long to be honest with me.
I only lie, Parker. I exclusively lie. There's no truth to be had here.
Lie to me, Michael. We've got some very different operator bands, though, by the way, while we were talking, and I'm glad that we're seeing this because now we can break all of these down. These are night and day from what we expect in the NA League at the moment.
Yeah.
The 3 most popular operator bands, Thatcher, Maverick, and Valkyrie. None of them are banned for this matchup. So what do the operator bands, Jacqueline Flores on attack and Mira and Wamai on defense, mean for a map like Chalet?
Well, Flores is definitely going to be a really powerful operator. We've seen him played quite a lot as of late. On Chalet, he's got a lot of uses as well. Mute is going to be a great counter for him, but obviously there's still so many instances where you need to open up a wall, and you're going to want to use a Flores to do that. But because Flores is banned, Thatcher's not, which is weird. This is weird, Parker. We're not even seeing him played, despite him not being banned. The Jackal, just to make roaming easier. The Mira, to make that setup on top floor that much less effective. Umai is typical to get rid of those throwables. So these bans are very interesting, Parker. They're different. I'm curious to see how much Thatcher we're going to see. Because sometimes when he's not banned, he's not played either.
I think there's obviously some style that goes into some of these teams and the operators they choose to bring. One operator that we do tend to see a fair bit of on Chalet, who is presently absent from SSG's lineup, despite the fact that he's been played by them before and actually has a skin of theirs in the game, is Zero. Zero sees a lot of play here on Chalet, as does an operator like Nomad. Some teams will use them interchangeably. Some teams will try to use them together. Yana is always a must pick here, or at least has been semi. Recently, the Gon 6 obviously aiding her a lot, and with Ash's pick rate falling off, expect to see her up here. I am fascinated how a Thatcher and Maverick enabled lineup on Chalet is going to make what is already quite an attacker-favored map even stronger for the attackers. Now, I say this because the downstairs bomb site is far and away the most attacker-favored. That's Garage. It hasn't been played by teams for quite a while now. They've decided to take it out of the cycle. So who knows? Maybe we'll start to see the defense winning more frequently on Chalet.
There's a distinct possibility of that, Parker. One of the better sites is where we find ourselves right now, this bar defense. Now, it's on DP Fire by Chimney to hold onto this position. It's not an easy task, but he is probably the right player for the job. Uh-oh. Looks like his wall's going to get opened up, but no, someone there to protect him. It looks like that's iconic to shoot away at the Exkyros pellets, and that will keep the wall intact. So DP able to continue to play on this position. He has lost some HP. All he needs to do is waste another 40 seconds or so, and he's done his job, so long as he doesn't die here. Interestingly, SSG doesn't seem to have another approach to this problem other than just brute forcing these Exkyros.
Iconic's going to watch both the library door and the library window. His teammate DP Fire's not too far off. He hits an air jab on his fall down from the fireplace and is punished. He's the very first casualty in this game. Dark Zero's latest R6 share skin being shown off on the ARX of Nomad. You can get that in the shop along with all of the other skins that have just been put out. There are a couple. Team Secret's got one in there. BDS has one, yada, yada, onward. You can take a look yourself in-game, but meanwhile, that very first pick goes in favor of Space Station. A little bit of that focus that was upstairs is now gone. Iconic will likely still persist in that area. Retro on Frost, an operator whose pick rate has continued to climb on this map and show off the strength that she brings to the table, still in play with J90 not too far behind, just inside of bar stock. Final 40 seconds now. Uncold might be able to get a kill if he looks in the right area, but he's got some work to be done before the execute can come underway very soon.
Doesn't have a nade to destroy that shield, but he can use that position for a potential kill. That also could have been a potential kill there for Thinking Nade, but Foltz walks right in front of him, blocks his line of sight. Rampy will be the next one to fall, and Disrupt still on the back foot here, despite them putting up some performance. Thinking Nade with the vault in through the pool table window along with Foltz, and that's working out great for the attack so far. Retro, the last defender now, but you've got low HP on Foltz, who has to cover his Thinking Nade plants. The air jab will give them the buffer that they need, though, as the spray towards the window misses its mark. A really difficult retake here for Retro, and he's not checking the closet. Oh, he barely gets out of that with Foltz playing a very passive angle. Only 30 seconds left here for the retake, and Retro does not have a lot of options. He'll spot the diffuser, but not either of the two remaining attackers. As he starts to fake that disable, he'll be flanked from above, and SSG will take the first round.
Well, really well executed from them. They take control of that top floor. They use their utility quite well. They flush everybody out of the position that they were in upstairs by fireplace, get control of library stairs, and once that happens, the soft destruction begins, and slowly but surely you whittle away at the foothold that the defenders have on that site. Yeah, the back bar component of that bomb site is a pretty strong place to hold out. Most teams are going to reinforce one panel and play off of the soft wall next to it to try and give themselves a good vantage point and also some cover if they decide to get swarmed by the attackers. That's usually where the Frost will play, and that's exactly what we saw at a Disrupt. But I mean, that also can end up being a tomb. You've really only got two ways out. Most of the time, it's really only one way out with the way that teams are covering, and well, with the way SG played that off, Retro was very lucky that they even gave him one. So, first round in the books for SSG, and I like the coordination to start off with. I don't know if they were anticipating DP Fire vaulting over the fireplace balcony, but by doing so, he vaults over chimney, he lands next to the fireplace, gets knocked over by the air jab, and that's a very easy pick. Not only a good start for Spacestation, but you also take one of the most competent players in the lobby out of the equation.
Always good to do. DP's been doing really well so far. DP Fire, excuse me, has been doing really well so far in his start to professional play. We'll go to a different site here for Disrupt. They've decided that bar is not the play, and based on that last round, I would concur. We'll try the top floor. Similar defensive setup, though, on the library side. We've got that chimney defense. This is position being played by Iconic. It's essential to slowing down a roam clear or holding above a site, as we saw the attempt made last round. This is an interesting different setup. Retro with the shield in the jacuzzi with two ADSs to protect him. I mean, you could definitely do some work from here. I've just never seen a direct counter to a Solarium execute set up quite like this. It's neat.
Foltz is that long cross angle of the bathroom that's being played right now. Retro's tough. They're in a tough spot. I mean, he's got the deployable shield there, and if you dare somebody like Foltz to hit that shot, it could end up being pretty tough for him to do. But until then, you've at least got the cross established.
This is the most Solarium-focused defensive setup I've seen on this site in a long time, or at all, really, frankly. This is a rather new map.
One of the knocks against it is, this site in particular, is how once you lose Solarium and you lose some of that closet wall, the rest of the site tends to go with it, and that's what makes it so defender, or so attacker favored in a lot of ways. And well, Hot and Cold takes matters into his own hands, tosses up a grenade, and bye-bye Retro.
Yeah, that's really great coordination there, clearing out the ADSs from Thinking Nade, and then the Nade follows suit. I mean, that's good teamwork from SSG.
Now there goes that Solarium wall that we talked about, and some more of that focus from the attackers will go over towards bedroom. J90 gets punished from below. Hot and Cold's reign of supremacy is in full swing at the moment. DP Fire will join his teammates on Disrupt in the Afterlife. So Iconic. Shuttle in a 1v5. We see a flawless round come out for Spacestation. Right now, Rampy's downed, but he's not dead, so Spacestation does indeed get the flawless as they pick up their second in a row.
Oh boy, Parker. That was a extremely one-sided round. This setup from Disrupt, I mentioned it at the lead up to the actual start of the action there. I do think that was an interesting setup from Disrupt, and I've never seen such a definitive Solarium-focused top floor hold like that. I mean, we had some presence over by Library, of course, by Chimney, but straight up Disrupt primarily focused on Solarium, expecting that take from Space Station. So good prediction power there from Disrupt. The Solarium Execute is generally the go-to for that site.
Here's a bad sign, Michael. A timeout already being taken by Disrupt.
Yeah.
You are 7 minutes at absolute most into live action in this game, and you already need to settle things down. Clearly the new coach of Disrupt, easily former player, played with the Sonics most recently. You can see him behind the bench. No, he is not another esports superstar, though they could very easily pass for one another if you were to swap IDs on them. He's going to be trying to get the team probably settled down. Always hard to tell if a timeout like this is being done from a strategic sense in terms of what we're seeing in the server, in terms of a tactical plan, or if this is emotions, nerves, etc. For a team that is quite young like Disrupt, I can absolutely see there being some nerves. Obviously none that show visibly, but if you think that they're not playing in their right minds, maybe settle them down, try to iron things out. That can help a lot. The problem is, that's your parachute if you're Disrupt. It's already gone. There are no second chances for you to be able to settle things down unless SSG calls a timeout and you have some time to sit, talk, and think.
Yeah, the thing I'm worried about here, Parker, is that tactical timeout was called to counter strategic catastrophe, which is difficult, right? Because SSG picked apart that defensive setup that Disrupt brought one step at a time. They addressed all the little setup pieces that Disrupt were hoping would cause issue for SSG. None of them did. And that's, yeah, like I said, it's strategic catastrophe. So there's some correction that needs to be made, but I don't know if it's a mentality thing as much as it is you need to change your structure. So I hope that the right call was made there by Easily. I'm curious what he said to his players, obviously. They're going to need to change up the flow in its entirety, and they're going to a totally different site. If it doesn't work the first time, see if something else works, seems to be the policy here. As we head to kitchen dining, I think this is the right call.
Oh, an attacker-favored map, breaking attacker-favored. News at 11 so far. I think obviously that does a disservice to what we're seeing, though. Disrupt have lost those opening picks. They really haven't had as good of a hold on map control as they wanted. On that very first defense that we saw, they lost their hold on that second floor without really putting in too much work. Very little utility was burned from Space Station. There wasn't a lot of drones shot out, and you didn't get a kill or really do any damage for it. Ditto what we just saw in that last round. In fact, you could pretty much say the exact same thing. The offsite holds from Disrupt were just not strong enough, and they haven't really shown what they are capable of at all. Of course, obviously the second round, that is even more of a spotlight because it was a flawless one for Space Station.
I like what I'm seeing from Disrupt in terms of the way that they're being more dynamic with their setup. You can see them moving shields around a lot to try and address what SSG is bringing, or the strategy that they're showing. It hasn't worked for them, obviously, but at least they're trying to be adaptive. You know, they're trying to stay on their toes, and, well, they're going to continue to die to nades as Hot and Cold gets yet another leadoff pick.
Well, he's certainly the former part of his name in this particular instance than the latter. He's had very even stats. He had a rough first game. In fact, I think he was in the bottom 5 of NAL performers, and then, well, the second game, he certainly picked it up, and he's putting in work now here as well. So is Disrupt, though. J90 takes down Full. It's reflagged by Rampy, thinking they'd won on, but Iconic takes down Rampy. Teams trading back and forth as the diffuser gets planted. PG hopelessly trying to retake. Thinking Nade gets out of there quite successfully. More on the shoulders, though, a DP Fire and Iconic as they lose DP Fire, leaving Iconic in a 1v4 that goes absolutely nowhere. Space Station are just rolling through this one. Well, we had a quick matchup in that TSM DZ game, Michael, and right now it certainly seems like the same is the case here, as it's 3-0 for Space Station.
Yeah, I guess this is just the type of siege that we are going to watch today, Parker. Maybe there's time for change, but after a tactical timeout, when you get that kind of a round, there's going to be some sadness on your team. You're going to be discouraged, that's for sure. Let's try to address the strategy that unfolded there, though. Once again, Disrupt, directly positioning their shields to deal with SSG. However, despite the fact that they're moving the shields around, every single time Disrupt is losing players on their key anchor positions. That round, think Hot and Cold just threw a nade through a drone hole, and oh bam, a kill. So it's the information gathering from Space Station is going strong into the mid round. They know where Disrupt is setting up those shields, even if they're setting them up late, and then they're directly countering that positioning before SSG goes for their execution. So it's just a methodical execution that doesn't rely too much on your early round drone work. And I have to respect that from Space Station because that shows a consistency that'll carry you through a lot of rounds, and it has done for Space Station.
5 seconds to go.
I'm not exactly sure what at this point Disrupt is going to try to change up. Bear in mind that SSG wanted to start on attack here. That tracks with what we tend to see on Chalet, and they are taking every bit of an advantage when it comes to the way that this map plays out. SSG's coordination has just been looking better and better over the last little while. While they didn't have the result that they wanted against Dark Zero last week, I still think that there was some improvement that needs to be made, especially after the claims that came in from Space Station before this stage even began that this team would be unrecognizable. That's a very bold thing to say.
Well, I will say that they are looking very strong right now, Parker. So, yeah, I don't know if unrecognizable is the right word, but they are certainly hyped up right now, and they've got 3 rounds in a row over Disrupt, who are struggling. So,
well, we see a very similar setup from Disrupt as, funny enough, this does not need to be a rotation for the defenders because they have yet to prevail on a single site. Even though it has been a 3-site rotation so far, it's been because Disrupt can't find a result that they're looking for. They've swapped out Retro, though, off of the Frost onto the Aruni, hoping that those laser gates will slow down the advances of the attackers on what has been a pretty quick pace for SSG to take control of that second floor. So far, whether it's the Aruni gates or not, I'm not entirely certain, but it's about halfway through this round, and SSG has not gotten anything that they wanted on that second floor. In fact, it looks like most of them have fallen off, especially thinking Nadu was posted up on that position.
yeah, it looks like they're setting up for a very different execution. They're not clearing out the top floor. It's a direct take into the site. Hot and Cold has made his way in, but he's not going to find his targets. It's actually J9O to pick up 2 very impactful frags. Faults, after the rush comes out, the last attacker left. And it's all over but the ceremony at this point, Parker. As Faults has to find 4 kills in order to bring this one home. It's not likely. It's not likely. So clearly the take directly into sight for Space Station not working for them. They definitely need to go for the full vertical clear. So that's a bad shot call. And Disrupt looks slated to win their first round.
I don't know what it was with Space Station deciding against that top floor hold. Maybe they thought that it was just simply better to go for frags and overrun the site and force a retake without getting everything they needed done on that top floor of Chalet. Unfortunately for them, like you said, it was a bad call either way. Bolts vaults in, and he's just being hunted down now. He's burned 30 seconds off the clock. He knows he's got 1 to his left. He knows he's got 1 to his right. And, well, it's DP fire directly to his right to get the kill instead of shuttle on his left. It was a formality, though. That round was over 40 seconds prior when Fultz found himself in a 1v4 with no utility and no real strategic sense as to what to make of that round. So finally, we see another team win a round. We didn't see it in TSM versus DZ, and we weren't seeing it up until then, but Disrupt gets themselves on the board with a successful bar defense.
Big difference maker there is that Disrupt did not lose a player early. We kept seeing SSG peel away a pick from Disrupt early in the round that opened up whatever execution Space Station wanted to go for, whether it was the shield on kitchen holding trophy window or pressure upstairs when trying to defend the top floor above bar. Whatever the case be, or the player in Jacuzzi with the shield. Whatever the case be, SSG was getting those early picks. That round, not so. Disrupt, great job at just staying alive and waiting it out. They've realized that Space Station don't always have the right tool to create an opportunity for their execution. And, well, Space Station didn't have any opportunity that last round. And so they just went for a bum rush into the site. And I just got to say, that's usually not going to work. So we don't get 2 7-0s in a row today, Parker.
5 seconds remaining.
Boo-hoo.
Had to end some point, Michael.
Attackers
Yeah.
must locate and
That's good for Disrupt that it ended there.
Disrupt took out the Flores, by the way, assuming that that would be one of the pieces of SSG's arsenal. Wamai on defense. As for Space Station, they took out the Mira, preventing any of that bar backstore defense from being even stronger. Something that we focused on when it was Frost in Retro's hands, and then he flexed onto the Aruni the second time around on that bar site. Now it's Shuttle who's going to be running this. The most noteworthy Frost performance so far this stage. He's not even in the game, but it was Shuttle showing exactly what you can do with that operator. 3 good mats that are unattended. Deny drone work, deny intel work. Force them to take that engagement, just as Shuttle might be doing right now. He's looking over towards West Main inside a dining hall. Swats away at the drone, more drone being pinged out. But
yeah, a big part of whether even competitive siege or any kind of siege really is just being able to put yourself in a position, take the fight to the enemy, and not, sway off that spot. This is a really ballsy repel in from Rampy. And the fact that it's not been punished just now speaks a lot to what's happening in this round. That's a lot of control that Disruptive's given up on Solarium's side. And it could be just what Space Station needs to create this execution into Master, especially since the Kaid was placed on the Solarium side of the wall.
It's an interesting choice for it. It was spotted right away. I don't know how much intel Rampy had. Thingy Nade, for the record, getting that diffuser down. He's at the halfway mark before the first smoke of Retro goes out. Bosco gets some damage done. Thingy Nade doesn't lose a single scratch for it. Everybody is still alive. Diffuser is down for Space Station. All right. This is where things are going to get real exciting. A lot of Disrupt are down below, and they are just wandering helplessly into the hands of the SSG members. Houghton's the only one who's been shut down. Fultz will join him. Iconic wants the kill. He desperately wants it. He gets it and then spotted. Out he goes! Down goes Bosco, but it's Iconic against the world. In a 1v2, he'll ascend the Solarium stairs, need to hunt down that diffuser. Whoa. He's got 10 seconds! What a shot on the Rampy. He sees it. Does he? No, not yet. He doesn't. You've got 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. He doesn't know where it is. He finds the air jab for his troubles. All Thinking Nade needs to do is stay alive. Iconic gets the kill, but it is way too late. Thinking Nade, you didn't need to give yourself away, but why not? Iconic gets the kill. SSG gets the round. They're up 4-1.
Well, you could see Space Station. That was a little too close for comfort for them. The 5 versus 5 plant, you don't see those every day, Parker. Excellent try from Iconic. Really, what an effort. Wow. Great shots landed. He really understood where his opponents were. Maybe there were some Valkyrie cams in key positions. That's another thing. We talked about the lack of a Thatcher ban. What about the lack of a Valkyrie ban? Whatever the case be, though, those Valkyrie cams were not in play when the plant was going down. 5 versus 5 plant, as I mentioned, you don't see a lot, and it really should not be happening. Frankly, that is something that you should not be allowing the attackers to do. And, well, Space Station punishing Disrupt for their lack of control on the Solarium side. A big part of that is because Disrupt didn't put that shield in the Jacuzzi, as they did the last time they tried to defend that site. Which means they've lost a layer of their defense. They didn't do it because it's so easily countered by Space Station from below, which, by the way, the below roam was a big focus for Disrupt. I don't know. It seemed like Disrupt was trying to counter, and then Space Station read the counter, and they made a play off of the glaring hole in the defense in turn. Well played to Space Station for reading that situation.
Well, I think that's exactly what we saw out of SSG in the previous round. They wanted to go for broke, thought they had the control, thought that they had what they wanted. They did not. They lost out on the second floor. And, well, it's a lot easier to pull that off when the entire site is upstairs. Don't really have to worry too much. Oh, no.
What's
a
up?
Clash. Again.
Oh, God, yeah.
A Clash playing upstairs.
Yep.
I got some... I don't know, I'm just, I've got some flashbacks to last week. Michael, I don't know if you...
Nope.
You definitely don't remember.
Nope.
Yeah. Don't remember the Clash getting blown up from below.
Oh, that? When they were trying to hold the piano hallway? Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
The old bait and switch that was.
That was really funny.
TSM showing how it's done. Unfortunately for Beast Coast, not so well. And I mean, we get to see it. This time around, it's not Retro who's going to be the one punished by it. It's Shuttle, who is sent away. Put him in a body bag. That's the last defense for Shuttle. 4 more members for DG to hold this one off and try to prevent SSG's 5-1 first half, which would be an almost unthinkable turnaround for DG to pull off after that.
Yeah, I think that nade is kind of what we've been seeing a lot of from Space Station. I got to really talk about Hot and Cold's nades because he is not missing them lately. Hot will also get J90.
He's in sight, by the way.
Yeah, they've got sight control. The vertical's not seeming to matter, but DP Fire, what a shot onto Hot and Cold. That is huge, and Iconic adds to it. Now suddenly the man count is even. You still got your clash upstairs, so the vertical is going to be a factor if the plant is attempted, but sight control is regained. No follow-up from Space Station.
Now the advantage swings in Disrupt's favor as Hot and Cold with a bit of hesitation, not realizing he saw the legs of the Jaeger underneath the part of the softwall that had been shot out, and he pays for it as DP Fire swings on him. People bellyache about how you can't control that Jaeger recoil, and DP Fire says, watch this, old man. He punishes Hotton for it. That clash still being in play will be a big nuisance unless they know how to take it out effectively. Rampy getting stunned. That's the real one, by the way. Thinking Nade will join him, but just like that, the Clash of Retro wise to it. Getting some shots put into his leg. Rampy watching now at the opening. Retro pushed back as far as he can. He's got the 2 members of SSG tied up, and guess what? That's intel for the remaining players on Disrupt. Now it's DP Fire and Iconic to come in and support as best he can. Thinking Nade in a 1v3, and he gets caught in a tri-fire, it looked like, but it was only a crossfire as the clash was still up. A 4K from DP Fire, as far as I'm aware, that round, a 3K, maybe. We'll see. But that's DG answering back. First half in the books. It is Space Stations. They claim it 4-2, but at least DG showed some signs of life through those final 3 rounds.
Such an important round there for Disrupt, Parker, and well played for Retro. Wow. Great use of the clash. I mean, you lose that player early on. You'd think that SSG is going to be able to carry that forward to a round win, but they get absolutely discombobulated by the clash in office. And not being able to deal with that problem, in fact, SSG were frankly tripping over themselves trying to deal with that clash. All while that's happening, DP Fire's just picking off one player after another. He doesn't care. Focus on the clash? I will take that frag. And another. Yes, thank you. Not to mention him shutting down Hot and Cold's presence in the site. So well played there for DP Fire and Retro. And now, Disrupt, they get to go on to attack, which, as you mentioned, Parker, is the favored side for Chalet. So this could switch up as we head into the second half.
Discombobulate.
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 It's a good word, isn't it?
It's a great word, and I feel like every single time I hear it now, I cannot unlink it from the Sherlock Holmes movies. There's just... Unfortunately, I have Robert Downey Jr.'s voice in my ears saying it every single time.
You know, similar to the Iron Man franchise, I think that it's really just, we all think, oh, wow, I loved Sherlock Holmes. Really, we just all enjoyed watching Robert Downey Jr. act.
Well, I mean, it's more the line for me. A great folksy word, regardless.
Fair enough.
We are now seeing the very first defense for Space Station, and unsurprisingly, they're going to start on the bomb site that most teams like to go to, which is Bar Gaming on the first floor. Shows the promise for most of these teams. Absent from the first half was a garage defense. After teams realized that with its 34% or something like that win rate for the defenders, it was abysmal. Maybe we'll just stop going there and see if the others work, because let me tell you right now, it's kind of hard to go down from 34% when you look at the way that these teams play it, regardless.
Yeah. I mean, it hasn't even been played. That side hasn't even been played this stage. And looking at it now, last stage, it was even worse. It was 21%. So even...
Pretty abysmal. That's about my win rate in ranked. So...
What? You're platinum, aren't you? Or I thought you got diamond, didn't you?
Back in Parabellum. Goodness gracious. But anyway, not about me. About this matchup right now.
Right, of course. Disrupt, very slow round so far. They are vying for control upstairs, and it looks like they're gonna get it. I'm not seeing any outlines here. The only problem is that they're gonna be faced with that crossfire, the typical one between back stairs and chimney. And adding to that problem, I said only problem. I guess there's two. This has taken so much time. Like, they haven't even started picking away at these SSG players up in library.
I mean, so much of SSG's defense early on was over towards bedroom. You saw the reinforcements there, time being spent, and honestly, used quite effectively. Fultz's position over by Library gets very tenuous now as that wall gets opened up, allowing a clear line of sight from Office towards his position. That's something that Disrupt has working in their favor. Rampy playing over by Chimney will have the cross. Fultz concerned with the window now, looking in towards Library. That was where the Ionoclone had jumped in before, but there's nothing for it for Disrupt. Once again, you said it was quite slow, and DG are at trouble or in trouble and potentially stalling out now. DP Fire will have to leave Office and head over towards Balcony as he utility dumps over towards Library Stairs. Damage being done from SSG players onto DG. First contact is hot and cold inside the lobby. Shuttle walks away from that one with the W. Rampy takes down DP Fire. Fultz has been dropped as well. So everybody's getting in on these engagements, but Rampy's the one that's coming out ahead. Retro secures Fultz, putting us back to a 3v3. Bosco peeking over through the hatch. DG have a very limited time to work with, so they'll have to drop and go for it. Objective play is in their hands, and oh no! Bosco on the ground is just better than them, so he'll play keep away for now. Diffuser getting planted. He's got one to get. There he goes down. Bosco in a 1v1. Can he stop Retro? He sees him. Yes, he can, and he'll get both those kills for good measure, and the diffuser to boot. The round, after just a couple more seconds, goes to SSG.
Parker, you yourself in the previous match hailed Bosco as being one of the go-to clutch players for a 1vx situation, and boy howdy, were you right. What a clutch there for Bosco, playing that perfectly, and Spacestation are all the better for it. Now one away from match point. The real culprit, though, is time. Disrupt spent way too much time trying to clear out over on Master and Office side. They even looked confused as to what they wanted their attack to be for much of that round. When they finally started going for the Library take, I have to commend Disrupt at least for being efficient in dealing with those shields at Backstairs and Chimney. But following picking those players or pushing those players off of their positions, they didn't manage to cleanly take Library. Rampy was roaming there. He picked a rat corner, and he stuck to it, managing to get himself 2 kills. And then problems became even worse when it came to transitioning to the site execution, because at that point, Disrupt only had 20 seconds left. So we are going to have a really difficult time transitioning that to site control in a plant.
It was a 2v2 with 12 seconds left.
Yeah.
Diffuser not planted. Bosco's position possibly unknown. I talked about this when Disrupt was on defense, saying that that back bar storage portion that connects gaming and bar to one another is played so similarly, whether it's an Aruni or whether it's a Frost. And Bosco played it the same way that everybody else does. There was nothing particularly unique about it. The only thing that was even the smallest bit different was that Disrupt had no intel as to somebody was back there or not, and Bosco being prone the way he was meant that most of the bullets that were done from, I believe it was J90, I can't remember exactly who we were riding on board at the time, most of the damage was done to the legs, leaving Bosco in a position to survive that. After he popped out, the last member of Disrupt who wasn't getting that diffuser down looked in the wrong way, and I mean at that point it's a 50-50. There's 2 ways out, there's a soft wall to look through. All told, a lot of that, like you said, compliments to Spacestation for the way that they held it upstairs and how Disrupt was able to take that quickly. Now we're here in round number 8. SSG can feel, they can taste match point. They need these points so desperately to keep pace with both Dark Zero and TSM, especially TSM after today's playday.
Yeah. Well, Fultz is actually kind of trapped right now. He's been corralled, but Hotten's there to help him escape. As J90 goes down in the main lobby, Fultz has now been given an opportunity to rotate. And he's just continuing to waste more and more of Disrupt's time. We have yet to see that awesome Chalet attack from Disrupt so far in this half. It's early yet, but this is looking really good for SSG. As I say that, though, Fultz finally goes down. There's a re from Rampy playing the back stairs, and he'll fall back as he now has man advantage. So the roam's still successful for Spacestation in maintaining man advantage and in wasting time despite having lost Fultz.
Well, this for SSG is the period of time where you just wait this one out. They still have a timeout too if things go real south, but they have the upper hand in this round, patiently waiting to see what DG is going to bring their way. Losing the Zofia definitely hurts. Always a tough operator to lose early on. She does tend to be the entry point for most teams, so you kind of have to gamble with that and hope that you get something accomplished. Hot and Cold's position given away, though, above. He's got Rampy on the same level. Not too far off, but close enough. Waiting. Disrupt managed the clock quite ineffectively for the first minute and a half of the previous round. Now they're at jeopardy of it getting potentially worse. That's a third kill, or a double kill rather, for Rampy. A triple for him. Hot and Cold finishes it off. Everybody from Disrupt peaks individually and nobody wins except for Spacestation. They're on match point against Disrupt.
Yeah, you said it yourself, Parker. That's a whole lot of 1v1s that you're giving to your opponent there if you're Disrupt, especially considering upstairs, I believe that was a 3 versus 2 at worst for Disrupt. They could have isolated those into much more one-sided fights for the attack, but nope. So it's not nearly as close as the last match, or sorry, excuse me. It's not nearly as one-sided as the last match. But so far, we've still seen dominant SSG. Now, there are a few rounds that Space Station have peeled away from Disrupt, but I don't have a lot of good things to say so far about what we've been seeing from Disrupt. That last round was very slow on the clear by the library side. That's not even to mention the clear that you're going to need to make above the site. Once you hit that, it's like hitting a brick wall. I mean, I don't know, Parker. And you asked the question earlier, what is Disrupt going to do to correct from their course? And I'm wondering the very same thing.
I mean, I don't really know. This Disrupt team has loads of potential, and I think their finish in the previous stage goes to show that. Obviously, in terms of fragging potential and the way that they're using him, the stats don't lie. DP Fire has been an upgrade over Mark in that regard, but Mark is not going to be somebody who's going to be fragging out all the time. That's not his role. That's not why a team is going to bring him on. Unfortunately for DG, their only victory came against the team that has continuously looked like one of the lowest performers in this entire NAL structure since its inception, which is XSET, and it was a 7-4 victory. They didn't have a great run against TSM, but you know what? They put in a better effort than the previous two teams to play against TSM, the two teams after them in Beast Coast and Dark Zero. It's hard to quantify where this team is at the moment, especially since it's hard to do the same with Space Station because they do have this new look roster. Not just with Hot and Cold on the team, but changing up the roles that people play on.
Yeah.
Are we witnessing, though, the very first garage defense? Or are my eyes deceiving me?
I mean, it's a bottom floor, yeah. And it is the first of the stage, Parker. So, it's different. I think that this will work here because of how slow Disrupt's attacks have been. And if nothing else, it's going to catch Disrupt a little off guard. If Disrupt is able to figure out that they need to play a close contact strat, though, and go for the site as directly as possible, then they might be able to figure this one out. Right now, they look to be struggling with the roamers. You've got one inside of Kitchen, one above. Hotten's going to be putting pressure on Trophy vertically. And this is a great position to hold. That way, his teammate in Kitchen doesn't need to worry about this push.
And he still spots the Yana. Missed opportunity. DP Fire walks away with a kill onto Rampy. That's some of the focus of the defense that was over by Master. It's now gone. Valkyrie's going to have to sit on cams. There's an Echo on the board as well. It's being piloted by Bosco, who has very quietly gone 11-4 and is the best statistical player in the lobby. An interesting thing to note, because it hasn't seemed like he's had a huge impact so far today, but he's been putting it together as best as he can. He scouts out some intel on the Zofia over in West Main, loses the Yokai for it. That's one piece of the defense that is now going to hurt. They are without one of those gadgets. They might be without both of them, as we don't know where the other Yokai is located. I say all this, though, Michael, when there's 50 seconds remaining, and there goes the exothermic charge, and a sprint in could be possible, but Bosco will try to prevent that.
Difficult angle to play here if you're Bosco. Very tight margins on the reaction. He's going to be extremely predictable in that spot. The big thing, though, is that Disrupt want to open up both of these walls so they can get the crossfire and go for a plant. They will do just that. But the exothermic going off, now it's 25 seconds in this 5 versus 4. They need to get past the shield, but they're going to have trouble as down goes Retro. The ADSs might be able to protect the shield, but not the walk-up from Iconic, who wins his heads-up fight. Disrupt now have the position that they need to plant the diffuser, but they don't have the diffuser, and time is dwindling. An aggressive push-up from Thinking Nade will net no success. He'll go for another peek. This time it works out great. There's the cover, and it's off the diffuser plant with 0 seconds on the clock. There it is. Space Station lock this one up and tie it with a bow. That was a close round, as this was a close match, but the score line does not reflect that.
It gets what appeared to be either a kill or a down right there at the very end, and we have two quick matches to start off today. A 7-0 by TSM over DZ just moments before, and now a 7-2. Impressive stuff. Hot and Cold topping his team in terms of points, but it's Bosco finishing off 11-5 with the best record. And now, that's two matches in the books. Goodness gracious, I mean, hey, at least they were able to salvage something out of it, but if I'm DG, if you're a team that wants to prove that you finishing in the top 4 was not a fluke, and that you have the staying power, and that this move with DP Fire was the right one to make, they've got to start sorting some things out because, well, there's only 9 play days. We're a third of the way through, and their only victory came over XSET.
Way too much inefficiency, Parker. That's the main thing that I noticed there from that matchup. Too much inefficiency on Disrupt. Too many rounds I was looking at Disrupt, setting up on an attack, and just... what are they doing? I mean, it's a weird contrast when we compare it to the SSG attack rounds that we got in the first half. We know that it's possible to be a lot faster. We know that it's possible to not leave it to the last 20 seconds before you're executing onto the site. Especially on a basement defense. I feel like that's one of the most streamlined ones. You get big garage control, you get trench haul, you open the walls, and you hit the site. You practically don't even need to worry about vertical unless the drop's open. I don't know. It was weird, Parker. It was too slow. Almost like Disrupt were not sure what their roles were or what their plan was for a clear. Whatever the case be, GG to SSG.
Well, the analysts will be the ones to break that one down. I have obviously my speculations, as do you, but we're only paid to speculate in the server. We've got some experts waiting to go through that one before obviously a short break, so we'll be right back. And then Blue and Stokes will take you the rest of the way through the next two matchups here on NAL. We'll see you in a moment.